morning that I've gotten up and like gone to work, I have wanted to like listen to morning tea on my way to work, because I'm just like, what's going on, you know? What's happening? What is CLC and everybody else in Prague got to say about what's going on, you know? I want the tea. I need morning tea.
She do, and she's not getting any of it because she's here for the long run. Not like any of the fucking people who are eliminated are currently in the VL, but she won't get it till postseason at this rate. But we're here for an evening tea, a fun change. We haven't done one of these in a minute just because the game has been so fast-paced that we've needed morning teas, or just the evening tea just hasn't really lined up because we have live night going or whatever's happening. So I'm happy to be back with evening tea to give you all the tea on the last 2 days. So everything underneath Jabbar's HOH reign after Erica's ultimate boot here at live night. Yeah, literally, Max, please go home. I beg. Anyway, I'm joined by 2 people who've been here before and 1 person making their season 20 debut. They were here last season for tea, but making their first appearance here on 20 tea. I'll bring in the people who've been here before. It's Dr. David Lee Farrell.
Hello.
And Dr. Alex Trias.
Hola.
I didn't earn that.
Says who? I don't know Alex's educational background.
I took AP Spanish. It was like 8 years ago now, but
joining us all the way from BBH20 and BBH15, it's Dr. Marcelo Guzman.
First of all, not from BBH12 or BBH15. Again, we don't talk about them. Also,
we didn't talk about them.
You are right. I come from a family of doctors, so technically I could be Dr. Guzman, but that is my father and my brother and my mother. So
I'll take it.
Are you in a new apartment?
No, but it comes me in February, and I'm in like a new area of my apartment. I usually sit like on the other side of the couch.
I was gonna say, like, I've never seen you from this angle, so I was like, are you in a new apartment? Also, I want to congratulate Marcelo on an absolute fantastic final tribal council in power, even though the jury was a little nasty. Arun, if you're watching.
Don't do that.
I'm just kidding. I didn't follow the season. I have no clue how you did, or like if the jurors were validated or whatnot. But I always believe people who get to the end deserve to be there. So, Arun's literally here.
Hi, Arun.
I totally did that joke, not thinking Arun was actually here, but he is. Yeah, I don't know. That's so funny. Oh yes, turn into bedtime stories. Truly, I'm in our 3rd bedroom and said, why not? Why not?
3rd.
Today? Yeah, we have 3. But 1 has a really ugly wall, and we don't like to be in that one, so we don't talk about her. It's really ugly. Whoever painted the wall before us was colorblind. But we don't talk about that. Alrighty, let's get into it. We have plenty to discuss. We're basically covering the fallout from Live Night up through Jabbar's HOH win and his nominations that occurred about an hour ago. So we start with our discourse leaving Live Night. Jabbar is taking a new strategy, which we'll get into if we think this is working or not working for him. His new strategy is he's just going to start telling people that he knows that they're after him in hopes of like just scaring them from talking about it, or telling people about it is basically his game plan at this point. It did already work against Liv. He came to Liv and said, I know you're after me. I know you tried to get me up on the block here at Live Night, so let's not do that. And Liv knows exactly who this came from. It came from Louise. Liv and Louise had a conversation where Louise is being Louise, being like, I'm worried that my game perception is wishy-washy and that I'm just, making spur-of-the-moment decisions. And Liv basically said, well, everyone thinks you're with Jabbar and Lamont and that this wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision, that you're actually working with them. So if you want to actually convince people that you did make a spur-of-the-moment decision and you got tricked by them, if you were to win HOH, I'd recommend nominating them. Because if you don't, people aren't going to believe your story. Louise obviously told Jabbar that. Jabbar then confronted Liv on it. So that's just kind of Jabbar's new strategy. If he's just going to like tell people when he knows that his name's out there in hopes of just kind of silencing it, which I don't hate, but he definitely has instilled fear into a lot of these people, and I'm not sure that's going to end well for him in a couple rounds. A lot of people are very fearful of Jabbar, and that's just not a characteristic I think you want to have in a Big Brother game is where people fear you. I don't know, it can work, but I think the second he's on the block, that fear will turn into time for you to go. So we'll see how that turns out. Thoughts on Jabbar's new kind of more blunt strategy?
First question is what was his placement again in BBH14?
Oh, ninth.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it.
Here's my thing though. Jabbar is one of those players where Jabbar is going to tell you like it is, and Jabbar is just going to say like how Jabbar feels. So doing the whole going to live and being like, I know you're after me, while it should backfire, like low key think it's not going to, because then it causes more and more and more chaos between like Liv and Louise, and people are now looking at like Lamont, and like people are always no one's gonna look at Jabbar individually. It's always gonna be like Jabbar, Lamont, and Louise.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are really mad at Louise. I mean, we'll get to how many people, when Jabbar makes his rounds, how many people are like, are you actually close with Louise? Are you willing to do Louise? Like, he has an opportunity to still, like, even when Dancing Queens wins an HOH and targets that group, he still has an ability where he could outlive someone like Louise. So he doesn't need to be taking this approach. He's not the immediate target of the four. But based on how this round is going, he might be.
I was going to say, like, at the beginning of this round, I would agree with you with that.
Yeah.
That in a world where he was put up, Dancing Queen had power. There, like, Louise could have gone before him, Lamont could have gone before him, but I think he's playing right now in a way where you just can't anymore. You can't. Like, it's that self-fulfilling prophecy of he's been so paranoid that people have been after him that he's now convinced himself that make them all want to come after him.
Yeah.
By the end of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think my bigger issue, as we will get to, is that he's also not really valuing his allies' opinions.
Also that.
I think that's a way bigger red flag, to be honest. Like, I think if you are not really working with someone, asking someone that you're not really working with blunt questions when you're in power is not the most offensive thing to me. But don't ask your allies their opinions if you don't want to take their advice.
I mean, that's the thing is
it seems like he already had set in his mind what he wants to do. So just say, this is what I want to do. Try and convince me not to, and then say, I couldn't be convinced. But instead, he's seeming like open, like let's weigh all the options when there really weren't options.
Yes, and let's be clear, like we're all friends with Jabbar. Like this isn't like really shade to him in this sense, but it's always going to be the people who get upset when someone that they think they're aligned with doesn't do something in their best interest, then go and do the same thing and be like, well, what's the problem?
Right.
Yeah. And again, you have to walk that line of you need the allies to feel validated and feel like you care about their opinion. Like, so you need to still ask their opinion. But if you already know that there's nothing that they can say to change your mind, you have to approach it in a way that, I don't know, you have to find that fine line of making them feel like you heard them out and you did what they wanted. And I don't really think he did that. And again, I don't think that Louise, and that luckily he's in a position where Louise, Lamont, and Nikki don't really have an option to be mad at him. They really can't be mad at, like, I mean, they have no one. They realized that today. They were kind of jumping a little bit ahead, but they were kind of discussing, are there avenues for us? Is there anyone that cannot touch the block that we can maybe pull in a couple rounds from now? And they like walk through all the scenarios and they're like, nope, we're all alone. Like they're like,
I think again, like we've talked about this a lot, that luck will always play a role for many of, like for those three. For example, you can only nominate two of them. Yeah. And there are different people in the game that would protect one of them over the other two. Like Lamont has people that probably would not like to see him go up if they had to rank them in a hierarchy. I think Nikki probably has the same. I don't think anyone cares about Louise. Like, sorry, Louise. I'm just saying. I don't think that there's anyone looking out for Louise.
No.
Michael kinda, but like
I would say Michael in the
Michael's
emotional
not
sense
really
wouldn't
also
do
protecting
something.
her. So,
But I feel like if Michael ever gets the courage to be like, we should keep Louise, or Louise should be something, Liv is just not going to have that. And Liv is going to make it so that Michael doesn't have the social ability with Louise.
I
just feel
think
like,
the biggest power Michael's going to have is like if he has HOH, he might not nominate Louise.
right.
But as we've seen, like when he was HOH, like way in the beginning, he's like, I want Preston to stay. And Kara's like, no. So I don't think that he really has much swaying power in like putting his agenda on people he's working with.
The overall issue for this group that like forced themselves into this corner was ultimately like going ahead. Like I think the two people that are most likely to have been willing to do some sort of flip if you gave them something was Megs and potentially Megan. Like just because of how they're maneuvering through the game. Like you saw Megs in her chat being like my winning move would be to go and flip over to what is Bermuda's Triangle and Nikki, but I sort of don't want to do it, but it's a avenue because I do feel good with some of them, or at least would think that they wouldn't nom me. Yeah.
No. Perception is real.
Yeah, I mean, Megs has said she honestly thinks she could win if she worked with the other side, and I do think she could. I mean, if she worked with the other side to get rid of Liv and Sarah, there's no one really stopping her from winning her way out winning her way to the end at this point. But Megs doesn't want to. Megs is like, I don't want to work with them. I don't want to reward that. Megan doesn't want to work with them right now, but if the time presents itself, she's willing to sacrifice a little bit of her moral character to do it. But right now, she doesn't want to either. Her and Megs are very much aligned on. Do we see the benefits in actually working with them? Yeah. Do we want to? No. And we're rightfully allowed not to. And I think it just goes to show how important intentionality and communication is for this cast. This cast very much values honesty, and I don't really want to throw Lamont here. I don't want to throw Lamont into this group because I really think that like outside of his train of thought, why he's been pretty upfront and honest. So I don't want to slander him too much. But Jabbar, Nikki, and Louise have been the epitome of not honest, not truthful, not transparent.
No.
I will die on the hill that Lamont doesn't owe anyone any explanation as to why he survived. He should be able to do whatever it takes to stay, because otherwise his game ends. And so he doesn't owe people that. But I also think that the interesting thing about that is I think out of that group, oddly enough, he might be the last person to pay for the sins of lying right now.
I think
which was a similar fate he faced in 17, like ultimately. But I do want to say, like, as much as we've talked, or you guys have all talked about in all the morning teas and in the game updates, like how certain people's perceptions, like the perceptions of Preston, perceptions of Erica, like how much of a hindrance and ultimately what led to their downfall, like. I want to make it very clear. Like Lamont has faced that same exact battle because of just what his past history was coming into this. Like, and I think he's done a lot outside of the train of thought round and just like the frustration he had leading into that round. I think he's done a very good job of being, still doing his Lamontisms, but like being more blunt, being more direct, trying to make it very clear to people that I am trying to help you. And I think a lot of these people after the fact, when they go and see what was happening, will realize Lamont was actually for them when they were like, no, there's no possible way. There's no way that Lamont actually wants to work with me, actually wants to be like good with me.
He's done a good job of keeping that open.
I also think that Lamont is smart in the people that he wants to work with. There's a difference between who Lamont wants to work with and who Lamont has to work with. I feel like Nikki, Louise, and Jabbar are people he wants to work with, but also like you can put on the thought that like he has to work with them because of what has transpired. But I do feel like you have people who really if I'm looking at this group of 4 and I'm looking at who is the person who's least likely to be like in everyone's crosshairs, I think Lamont is someone because listen, Lamont was on the block and Lamont survived. Lamont didn't vote to save Lamont. Like Lamont just stayed. So it's like you have to remember that Lamont almost went literally. I remember there was hours where Lamont was going home, where we were just like, okay, great. Lamont will be leaving tonight. I mean, like, slay. And then they took out my favorite person ever, Caro, for the battle back. But there's not. I'm just kidding. There's not one. But I'm just saying, like, Lamont has leeways and has avenues. I understand that the 4 of them don't have an avenue, but I feel like there will be a pocket that Lamont will be able to get into where he can just run away with it. And honestly, I will say this now, an alliance of Lamont, Megs, and Megan, I'm putting in manifesting it into the world because that could be all 3 of their saving graces.
An alliance that you would never have written up going into this season.
Yeah, no,
exactly.
I very much, when assuming, without Jabbar playing for HOH next round, you've got Louise, Lamont, and Nikki, not the strongest competitors of the group this season. Like Nikki and Lamont both won multiple challenges in 17 this season. It's just not been their cup of tea, and that's okay. Louise has won a comp, but like when you look at the field, I would put money Dancing Queens will be the next HOH. Worst case, even if they're not, Liv can use the power to benefit them. But yeah, I definitely think as Bermuda's Triangle, or I guess we're getting that, but Phoenix is the 4-stone, which is Bermuda's Triangle attack on Nikki, is Phoenix. As they lose 1, 2, 3 members, and Lamont's the one that's left, I easily can see Lamont, Megan, and Megs linking up because Lamont's done a very good job of still cluing them into kind of what's happening and keeping that avenue open. And he's definitely the one who is the least disliked in the moment because most people are not mad at Lamont for anything. The only people mad at him are over train of thought, which, like, girl, get over it. It was how many rounds ago? Like, be actually mad about live night. Be actually mad about the Caro vote. Be
like
actually
touch grass.
like Lamont, like, girl, if you're so mad about train of thought, I need you to move on. I'm sorry. It was how long ago? You're still here. You survived. Let's move on.
Move on and think of a better alliance name.
Also that, please. God, name is terrible. All right, but on top of that, people are still debriefing live night. People have a lot of concerns around Nikki. I think there's a lot of concerns around the fact that Nikki did not inform either of her noms, so Sarah and Michael are still very upset about that. Which I get their point of view, but also you've got 10 minutes. Like, it's quick. And actually the nomination period, they didn't even take the full 10 minutes because everyone joined the Zoom early for some reason. And so like Nikki only really had like 8.5 minutes. So like I understand that they were upset they weren't given the forewarning, but she's got 8.5 minutes to decide on nominations for an HOH she tried to throw. So, like, I do give Nikki a little bit of grace, but also, girl, it takes 3 seconds to say, hey, I'm putting you up.
Just send a message.
Yeah, like Nikki, girl, like,
been like, hey, you get a little more grace because you only have 10 minutes. Like, no one's expecting you to tell someone on a call, but you can send a 5-word message. I am putting you up.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. It's like I would give her like some. I would give her like some grace for like certain people, like, because as much as it was more wide open going into that night, especially potentially for Nikki, like Michael, you put her up every single time that you won a round. Yeah, like you should have just anticipated to be going up.
Yeah.
Sarah's a different story and I know it's in your notes, so like we can just go straight into that.
Sarah and Nikki. I mean, Sarah was completely blindsided by Nikki's nomination of her, and again, I don't really know why. I'm a Sarah truther. I have
so much respect for the way she
love Sarah
conversation.
I just and again, I don't know if I don't think she watches current Big Brother. I don't think she definitely doesn't watch current Survivor. So I don't really know where her basis is coming from in terms of the relationship building. But she was very shocked at how or at Nikki's decision to nominate her. And again, like I saw it coming from the sole fact of like you can see that relationship deteriorate over time. And again, I don't know if Sarah thought that that was enough or thought like maybe there was no bad blood. I'm not really sure as to kind of the basis there, but like I could see that this was deteriorating. Like you don't use the veto on her twice. Sure.
It was a harm.
Like that's already like that's not great. To not use on her twice when she's on the block. Obviously, Nikki stays, and Sarah is big parts about her staying both times on the block. But from Nikki's perspective, she's like, we were so close. You didn't use it on me twice, which like fine, I get it. But these other things kind of came out where Sarah was saying she didn't know who the renom would be underneath Liv, and that was kind of a reason Sarah didn't want to use it, but then the Almost Alliance got leaked, which included Liv, which made her think, no, you did know the renom, and you were protecting Megs. You value Megs more than me. And additionally, people have been telling Nikki that Nikki was going to go home when the veto was used. Like that was the perception, which is true. The perception was Victoria's staying, and we've talked about this before. It was just because people didn't actually voice their true preference. Nikki was never going to leave because more people actually wanted her to stay. Just no one was willing to say it because they all thought Victoria just had more supporters. But when they all got to talking, they're like, oh, wait a minute. Victoria has no one. Everyone wants to save Nikki. Let's just do it. At the time, people were saying, oh, yeah, I thought you were leaving. And Sarah definitely was under the perception you were leaving as well when she chose not to use that veto. So that has kind of rubbed Nikki the wrong way. And then since then, they just haven't kept up as much as Nikki has kept up with other people, specifically Megs, Jabbar, as time has gone on since she got the key and all that fun stuff. So Nikki definitely clears the air with Sarah post live night being like, hey, I'm sorry, but here are all the reasons why I feel like our relationship has deteriorated. And Sarah's like, well, the alliance wasn't formed until after the Liv HOH round, which I don't know if it's true or not, to be honest. I don't really remember when the Almost Alliance was formed, but whatever.
I think that is true.
Yeah, I don't remember. And then Sarah's like, I didn't know the renom, which is semantic. Liv did not tell her the renom directly, but
you can put two and two together.
It was rumored it was gonna be Megs. So like Sarah, Megs was like, I am worried that I'm gonna go up. Please don't use the veto. So like, sure, did Liv tell Sarah who the renom was? No, but like, you knew. So we're playing semantics on that one. And then Sarah's like, well, Nikki, I fought for you to stay. When you were up against Victoria, I told people I was going to save you. I was one of the voices who came out first and said I was saving you. And next thing you know, everyone is following suit, which is also true. So Sarah rightfully clapped back. And I think that they've at least cleared the air. I don't think they're going to work together, but
no.
I will say though,
how many people
Sarah
gave
the best response, and I'm going to read it because I love it, and I will be using it anytime someone fucks with me. I also regret you not giving me a heads up because it completely changed my perception of you and how you're choosing to play this game.
That message was so fucking funny.
Oh, God.
It was so spicy in such a Sarah way because y'all have watched Sarah on streams, have watched her compete. She is a very like
real,
genuine, like Southern gal. Like she got like, and I could just feel that like that Southern kind of like jab in those messages being like, oh, like when Southern people say bless your heart. Oh, I can just feel it in that message. I also regret what you did because now I have to dislike you.
Yeah.
Like no.
But it was like in such like a like the way when like you're talking to someone you like and they're like, I don't like you, and I'm like, well, I regret to inform you that that's a regret, and you don't like me and I don't like you, and it's like it's like nice. It's just like nice. It's not like rude or at all like mean. And I think that's Sarah's benefit. I do think that Sarah's going. Do I think that Sarah is in it for the long haul?
No.
Who knows? No. I think Okay, thanks.
I love her.
It will require her to beat the comp record in order to.
I think the second that Sarah's a final nom, it's goodbye. But like, I think Sarah is one of those people that none of us. I mean, a majority of people didn't know Sarah's game from her previous, and I feel like Sarah coming in was very much just refreshing, and I think what Sarah's playing is like an honest game by, there's she's lying, yes, but there's honesty to it, and I feel like Sarah's someone who's definitely could. I feel like you can't count Sarah out. She's gonna find a way to create her own narrative, and if it works, it works. But yeah, I think it can be game over any second now.
And we'll get to her chances of survival. They're not zero. Even if she doesn't win the veto, there are some situations where she could be okay, but we'll get there when we get there. So Nikki is obviously having to address that, but also anyone who watched Live Night knew Nikki was not all here for the renom. She definitely was. She came into the renom being like, it's going to be Megan, Erica, or Trey. Hops on call with Trey and is like, all right, we're good. Hops on call with Megan. Okay, we're good. Then hops on call with Jabbar is like, all right, Liv, maybe? And Jabbar's like, babes, what? Some of her mouths B. And she goes, Erica? Okay, great, we're good. Which I don't know why Erica wasn't the first name she said to Jabbar. I don't know, whatever. But those conversations have also made their way throughout the house. Megan told Trey that Nikki was considering him and that Megan tried her best to shoot it down. She also somewhat encouraged it as well. But Trey has also told Liv and Jabbar about that. Additionally, Jabbar told Trey that Nikki had considered Liv and that Jabbar worked hard to change it to Erica, which is true. And then Jabbar was like, Trey, you need to go tell Liv this. And he did. So, and those have also made their way through other people. So now everyone kind of knows where Nikki's mindset was at, which is scattered for Live Night. But it has gotten out that she was considering a plethora of people for the renom, which does not help Nikki at all, as theoretically she should be at the bottom of these four people in terms of like the target level for the Dancing Queens. Like, they're all angry about this Caro vote. They should be angry at Lamont, Jabbar, and Louise, but then Nikki did not do herself any fucking favors at Live Night and has actually put herself above Lamont.
but we've seen this before. Like, and I'm not saying just Nikki specifically, but I think she benefits from the fact that Jabbar is the person who ends up winning this HOH, where I think as much as people will still be mad with her, I think like things are gonna just happen within these next 24 hours. And then like if Dancing Queen wins, like if you have Jabbar and Nikki on the block, who are you striking at based off of what's been going on this season? Like
Nikki.
Yeah.
No.
I think still Nikki.
I don't think based off of how I think it really depends on who's the person who's in power that puts those two up, because if they are not the one that has the vote, I think other people may be sick and tired of being sick and tired.
I don't see Trey voting out Jabbar over Nikki.
No. And I see like Liv is not the kind of person that goes back on deals either. And I feel like if Jabbar truly keeps her safe, like I just don't see her strike. Like the only way she's striking against Jabbar is if he's up against like her ally, in which case this is not happening right now.
but let's be real with the Jabbar and Liv thing. Jabbar also said to her that, oh, I only want you here because I think I can survive the block against you.
Oh, it's T.
That's okay.
Here's the thing. As soon as you say that, okay, you keep me safe. I don't have to keep you safe.
But I think if I hear that, like if he has any reason that he wants me to stay in the game, I'm fine with it. Yeah. I don't care the reason. I care that he wants me to stay in the game.
Yeah, I mean,
I care for that round, and then only that round.
It's a reason. So yeah, I don't know what would happen. I mean, I think Nikki and Louise are at the bottom of that grouping in terms of, I think that they have the least inroads with the other side. I think that they're being looked at by a lot of the other side for just how they've handled things. But again, this cast has proven that you give them time to think about a vote and things will change. So like if we had a vote right now, yeah, Nikki and Louise likely leave against most. But given 24 hours, given even 4 hours, they might take a shot at Jabbar instead. So I don't know. That's what's so interesting about this cast is that they, no offense to them, they're not the most proactive people in terms of thinking about these things. They really talk in like bigger group settings of like, all right, well, I'd like to see one of these people leave. And then when push comes to shove, when they've got 2 people from that group on the block, they haven't really thought through who they'd actually want to leave. They haven't actually discussed those ideas. So you have shit like Live Night, where had people actually had time to discuss the Erica Michael vote, I don't think Erica leaves there.
No.
I think if Megs knows that there's
absolutely not.
if Megs knows that there's 3 already voters who are going to save her, she also saves Erica, knowing Nikki would save Erica. Like, these people aren't necessarily the most proactive thinkers, and on these tight schedules that we're about to be on, we're going to have votes that maybe don't make a ton of sense, which is okay. But I'm hoping that we're getting out of the end game. They start planning for these things. Like, of those 4, who's the one we're evicting over all of them, no matter what? Like, Michael was on a call today where Jabbar was like, would you evict Erica or would you evict Sarah? And he's like, I think so. And Jabbar's like, well, is there anyone you would save Sarah against? And Michael's like, haven't thought about that. You have to be thinking about this, people. You have to have your ordering, your trust ordering of, like, who are you never evicting against anyone? All right. Who are you evicting? Never, unless they're up against your number 1. Like, you got to start having these lists ready together, because
this is not BBH's best friend race.
It moves too quick. You got to be ready for anything, and like, you just got to be ready for anything. And I don't think this cast has really prepared themselves for that. But we'll see what happens tomorrow in this vote with whoever we have on the block, because I think hopefully this will be the reality check that they need. If Erica wasn't the reality check that they needed, but we'll see. The advantage hunt is still on, even though Liv has already finished it. There are still advantages to finishing it. Sarah and Megs and Lamont are about to Sarah and Megs have already finished it. Lamont is about to finish it. Give it like an hour. And they're going to know that formally that the advantage is out in the game with someone else. But they all passed up on the other advantage that was within the advantage hunt itself, which is an extra veto chip. At any of the next veto meetings or any of the next like veto draws, which I think is still useful. Like, if you give yourself an extra chance to play in that veto, but they all passed up on it. But they all know that the advantage is out there. We'll get to Lamont and his run in his advantage hunt a little bit. And let's talk about Louise. Louise is again under a microscope for some things she did, some things she didn't do. The thing that she didn't do is she did not influence Niki's nomination of Sarah. I think a lot of people were taken aback by Niki's nomination of Sarah because of how close they were in the early game. And a lot of people are like, there's no way Nikki did this on her own. She did. But everyone's like, Louise has been so anti-Sarah from so early on in the game. True. And so they're thinking Louise must have had a hand on this, when Louise is one of the few people Nikki never called during Live Night. But Louise is getting pegged for being the mastermind of Live Night when it's just not true. Poor Louise there. But Louise is getting clocked for evicting Michael, because she did. Liv did tell Michael, do not believe Louise when she tries to tell you otherwise, because she's lied about where she voted in the Rizzo vote. She lied about the Preston vote. She lied about the Caro vote. And now she's lying about this vote. It's really hard to believe her, but some people still are, shockingly. She's still trying to sell it that she saved Michael, and someone's trying to frame her like a Liv, like a Megs, like a Megan. So she's still trying to push it. But Louise is getting a lot of heat for what happened at Live Night between Sarah's nomination as well as a vote to evict Michael. Louise just is they have everyone's got their foot on her neck and refuses to let off, even when she sometimes is not culpable for something that she's
can you blame them at this point?
I was about to say, you really can't.
It's the whole, it's the girl who cried BBH16 Alliance without me. It's like you can't believe anything she says anymore after a certain point.
I also think that it doesn't even. It's Louise will try to tell the truth to like some people, but I also feel like others have kind of buried Louise's trust and Louise's truth. That like anything Louise could literally say, the sky is blue, and people would be like, I think it's indigo. I think it's indigo. Like literally, like they could just like frame it, and I feel like I think Louise again is someone who, once the time strikes, just take Louise out of this game, all the lies are going to come back and bite Louise. And sadly, I feel like that's going to be the end of Louise.
No, yeah. I mean, people are fed up. I think people have acknowledged the fact that they know that taking out someone like Jabbar makes more sense, but people are just fed up with Louise. And Louise knows it. Jabbar got
Rightfully
all the tea.
so.
Jabbar got all the tea and let her know today that, girl, you are enemy number one. Louise knows it. And again, I'm intrigued if she's able to turn it around specifically. I mean, to one, get herself further, but if she's at the end, do people believe an ounce of what she has to say at finale night?
Yeah, that's the tricky part. It does, like, even if they do believe her, that the issue is we'll always go back to, well, why does it feel then that you were so ingenuine the entirety of the game, and do I reward you for that even if I believe you at this point? And that's the bigger issue.
Yeah, I don't know. So we'll have to see about Louise, but luckily she gets a good HOH winner here, so she has some time to figure it out. So where we stand in the architecture of it all, we've got Dancing Queens, which is Michael, Megan, Liv, Megs, and Trey. Obviously, they have their two segments of Tasty, which is Michael, Megan, Megs, and then Caro's Revenge, which is Michael, Liv, and Trey. They have all pretty much universally discussed bringing Sarah into the fold. Obviously not into an alliance per se, but they've discussed bringing her in to the mission of being against Nikki and Bermuda's Triangle, now known as Phoenix. Obviously, all of this is for nothing because of the HOH winner and Sarah ending up on the block. They will all happily probably cut her if she remains up on the block. So all this is for nothing, but at least they recognize the fact that Sarah is untapped potential that is super necessary, considering she's won 5 challenges. Why no one is trying to pick that up? But they've realized it now to try and do this. So, but that doesn't mean that we don't have a slight shakeup in the matter. Lamont wants to form something else that kind of bridges the two sides of where we stand, and this is this 5-some group, which is basically all of the BBH17 people still in the game tack on Jabbar. So Megan, Megs, Lamont, Nikki, and Jabbar is the new grouping he's hoping to pose moving forward. Obviously, Megan and Megs are not going to say no. They obviously are like, yeah, totally, but they don't want it. They absolutely leak it. Like Megs tells Liv, tells Trey. They're just not down for it. I mean, Megan's like, if I have to use them down the line, if like the next couple of rounds don't go our way, then sure. But they just don't believe it because like Louise isn't involved in the alliance, and they just don't believe that they would leave out Louise after Louise is the entire reason Lamont and Jabbar are still both here together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a hard group to believe is honest and truthful when Lamont is being honest and truthful. That's the group that Lamont actually wants to be with. Megs is at the bottom of that 5-some, but he legitimately wants Megs. Well, at the time, he wanted Megs, Nikki, Jabbar, and himself as like the core group of 4 with Megs at the bottom, but now Nikki is giving him reasons to distrust her as well. But when he created this idea in his mind, it's actually what he wanted. He did want the 17 people to just drop their beef in game, also preseason beef, and just come together because they make up 40% of the house. So why not take advantage of that opportunity? Which is wild. The fact that we started off day 0 and day 1 of this cast being like, there are 8 people from 16 and 17. We can't let them get too far. And now here we are where they make up 70% of the
and I just like the fact that they got here just and not because of like, oh, we'll just ride together. It's like through no effort of their own, they have in their own convoluted pathways intersected, interlined to get to this spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's also not due to anything they've done wrong. But they definitely were not like this close-knit bunch.
No. It's just circumstantial.
Little pieces here and there. You would have made a stronger case that the 16ers could have actually had created something together if they had wanted to, just because of how their bond was coming in. as opposed to 17, where you guys picked all the 17 people who like, well, I don't like you. I don't, except for like Megan and Megs, they had no issues with one another. But yeah, it's interesting to see it. I would have loved to see it bias fully, but you know, we can't have nice things.
We cannot. No, we cannot.
No, never.
Let's move forward into the HOH. Wheel of Fortune happens, and Jabbar, who came in wanting to throw, ends up walking away, winning it by a large margin. So Jabbar is the head of household, which is music to the ears of Bermuda Triangle, soon to be Phoenix, who 2 rounds in a row have been the house's target, and yet here they are with 2 clutch wins to keep them all in the game. And we discussed this 4 or 5 days ago, that, or I guess on Sunday, that this decision to save Lamont is going to be results oriented. Like, the execution was poor, but if they're able to kind of clutch it out, we'll look back and be like, you clearly made the right decision. And 2 rounds in, they might have made the right decision. But again, we won't know until we got to see a few more rounds play out. But right now, they're winning all the comps, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. Is Big Brother comes down to comp wins. You have to be able to seize power at the right times, and this group is. So good on them. But Jabbar's the HOH. He initially was always thinking Megs and Sarah as his nominations, with the potential of a Megan or a Michael renom. This obviously changed a bit throughout time, but basically his main initiative here is to take a shot at House B. He wants House B to take another shot because they came in so unified from the split house, and House A was in shambles, and House B came in all united. And he has this weird philosophy that most of them threw the HOH at live night, which is just not true. But he is very much against the House B kumbaya of it all and wants to break them apart. He discusses he doesn't want to touch Trey and Liv because he thinks that, one, they've got less avenues moving forward, and that they are a duo that everyone kind of knows about. So, like, as the longer Trey and Liv exist, the fact that they exist is a target that maybe people will take a shot at instead of Jabbar's group of allies. So he's hoping to keep at least a potential other target other than himself, Lamont, Louise, and Nikki. So he's hoping to keep them in just in case he needs it down the line. But obviously starts to consider Liv and Trey as time goes on. So let's get to his round of calls. Jabbar is an HOH who definitely loves to hop on calls and gather intel and kind of sit there and get his notes all together. So his HOH is very call based. He initially calls Trey, and Trey immediately throws Megs under the bus. He references a call that they had pre-live night where Megs is like, someone from that group on the other side's got to go. And honestly, Jabbar would be my top choice, or Louise. One of those two got to go, but not Lamont. So Trey definitely leaks this conversation to Jabbar, which it doesn't really change much because Jabbar was already considering Megs going up anyway. So, like, cool beans, great. But really, Jabbar's biggest concern with Megs is this power. Who has it? Megs is known in the org community for being really great at advantage hunts. So he is pretty confident at this point in time that Megs has it, and he'd like to get rid of the power. He also thinks that Megs is lying about evicting Erica because he still is in the mindset of believing Louise, when Louise is saying that she did evict Erica, and she thinks that someone's trying to peg Louise for this vote, and Megs is his top choice right now, where Megs is not lying about this either. They also think Megs has been throwing comps, and she hasn't been. Like, some comps have just not been her forte.
How do you say someone who has 2 HOHs has been throwing comps? Yeah. And if so, how do you blame someone for that's the thing. You can't say that they've just been like middling and throwing comps when they've been HOH twice, and they have not been afraid to like make noms that were just what they wanted. I mean, look at their first round, they put Liv up. Second round, they take Preston right on out of the house for you, Jabbar, for you. and then, anyone in their right mind who's won HOH twice then should throw comps probably.
But it's also like, I think Jabbar just has this whole mindset. And again, we're going to talk about it. Train of thought. Like, Jabbar has this whole mindset that, like, train of thought was just like Meg disappointing
It was meant for
Jabbar. It was just like,
yeah,
Megs
did not try to one up Jabbar to steal it from him, and this is the part of the paranoia, and this is what I mean. A healthy level of paranoia is great, and Jabbar rightfully needs paranoia because he is an org superstar, and like someone of his caliber should be rightfully paranoid that at any point it could come, it's over.
Right.
But not everything is a scheme. Not everything is like this complex.
I think the issue also is just like, because we've seen it all season long, is these people, like specifically him and Caro, are like, Megs has made multiple efforts through that early portion of the game to try to show that they wanted to make something with you, and then Jabbar and Caro keep going into their project, and I don't trust a thing that Megs is saying. I don't buy anything for a second. They're throwing comps. They're trying to throw me under the bus. Like they're creating this whole fabrication of this alternate universe. And I have to use multiple alternates because it's just asinine at this point of just like how much they like turned Megs into this like huge boogeyman for all of their problems in the world. Like, if you got rid of Megs, we would be stopping world hunger at this point. Like, that's how they view her.
No, and again, I mean, no, this isn't unique to this cast, but a lot of misplaced blame, and that's okay. And I get it. It's hard when things aren't going your way, or you think that something sinister is bubbling below, and it's easy to blame someone like Megs, who is known for being super sneaky. So I get it, but sometimes it's just not that serious.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to take a step back, look at it as a human being, and see what the hell's going on.
But it's difficult. We're not in the pressure cooker. We see everything, so I can't blame him for thinking all of these things, but sometimes it's just not that. It's just not that. But on the rest of this call, Jabbar basically just kind of lays out the people he's really thinking. He's thinking Sarah. He's thinking Megs. Michael and Megan are still options because Michael does not talk any game with him, and he worries that Megan will not choose him at the end of the day and that she'll choose Megs over him, which is true. Mm-hmm. So those are kind of the main four that he's considering. Jabbar is asking Trey to put in a very good word with him for Liv. He really wants to work with Liv moving forward. Biggest reason being she's a huge threat, and he thinks he can actually stay over her, but he's like, please go tell Liv I want to work with her. And he thinks Trey is his best pathway to kind of convincing Liv that Jabbar wants to work with Liv. So Trey does just that. Trey calls Liv. They discuss the whole 5-sum that's been going around that Lamont was posing, that people have no interest in, but it's made the rounds about what Lamont is wanting with the BBH17 plus Jabbar of it all. This is where Trey leaks what Nikki was planning on live night. This is where he tells her that, hey, Jabbar really wants to work with us. Like, let's try and make him feel really good. And this is where Liv tells Trey about the advantage. Liv is like, please don't tell anyone. I have my menu of options, and they're kind of walking through the options that are best for them in terms of what they should use. And they're kind of landing on either the forced co-HOH or the extra veto. But again, the beauty of this menu is you can pick and choose what you want when you want it. You're not locked into a decision immediately. You can hold on to it until an occasion arises where you think, hey, it might be beneficial to use this one, and I'm going to take it. So they're not locked into anything. So they're kind of discussing situations that could arise in this round or the following rounds to it's like, sorry, I just got a notification on Facebook. Love that. Or they're just discussing options, like what should we be on the lookout for, and basically telling Trey, if you hear anything, let me know so we can make a decision. as to when to use this, because she's got options for eviction vote, she's got options for veto ceremonies, nomination ceremonies. Like, she's got plenty of options, but she needs to know before the ceremony window opens for her to use it. So she basically needs Trey to be kind of, a person in the field collecting information to help them know when to use it correctly. So super great call. TBD on if Liv just told Jabbar about it. We're trying to get that tea right now. Liv and Jabbar are on a call right now. Hard to know if Liv actually told Jabbar or if Liv just kind of slipped and informed Jabbar. I don't know, but we're going to get the tea on that here shortly, but no clue. But right now, to my knowledge, the only person who formally knows is Trey. Jabbar then calls Lamont, where Jabbar just continues his idea of like, I'm not going to be very forthcoming in this HOH. I don't want to tell too many people that they're safe, because then people start talking about who was told that they're safe versus told that they weren't safe. He doesn't want his hierarchy to be known, so he's trying to leave as many people in the dark as possible, which again is adding to the scary factor that's Jabbar, and I think that's what is leading him to be such a huge target now of that side, because a lot of people can feel it when they're hopping on calls with him. They're like, he didn't really say much. He didn't say I was safe, and that doesn't feel good. Obviously, most people weren't told that they were safe. In fact, some people were told that they might be going up when they weren't ever going up. So he's handling this in a way that is just not making certain people feel good. Again, Jabbar's not really in a position like that it really matters. I don't think we're going to walk away from this HOH being like, yes, Jabbar offered me safety, we're going to be besties from now on.
No.
That's never going to happen, but he definitely could have at least paved a couple bricks for that road in case they wanted to use it. But it wasn't going to do a whole ton.
And the issue is like, you're sort of going into this with Jabbar winning this HOH, and I feel like if you're the house B of it all, you sort of understand that a portion of the hierarchy. Like, you understand that, like, most likely Lamont's not going to be put up, Trey's not going to be put up, Louise isn't going to be put up, Nikki's not going to be put up. That's already 4 people. That's already half his options. So it's like the vagueness for certain people doesn't really make much sense to me, because it's like, why? Like, what ultimately it there doesn't serve a real purpose, at least. And I feel like he's sort of better than that than just like be vague just for the sake of vagueness.
I'm not sure how I feel on it. I think at this point, like, unlike, and I want to be clear because I don't want to be the hypocrite here, but like we talked about how Christian didn't use his HOHs to ever solidify relationships. I think Jabbar is winning HOH very aware of what the social structures are and what his position is, and I just don't think that he really wants to take the time for some of the bullshitting. I mean, he tried to lock in a big deal with Trey and by extension Liv. So it's not like he hasn't tried to lock in deals. But I also think he's probably not trying to make deals with people that he already has judged that he can't trust to uphold them. Because he's a very paranoid player. So he's probably thinking, I could make a deal and you're going to say whatever I want to hear for your own safety, but you're probably just going to stab me in the back anyway.
I mean, the big difference is Jabbar has people. He doesn't need new inroads. Obviously, more inroads is better, but like he doesn't need them.
Oh, sure.
But also, he's going into a Final 9 situation where he has Phoenix, and then he has, honestly, I'm going to say it, person who's probably in the best position at this current moment is Trey. And I feel like Trey is someone who Jabbar can work with. To what extent, we'll find out later. But I think Jabbar has avenues to make sure that he's not 9th or 8th, maybe 7th.
True. And the other part of, like, I remember what I was going to say now, because I had a whole thing with the vagueness of it all. It's like when you have Love Him, when you have Michael on call saying that Jabbar's obviously not calling us because he's calling all of House A, like, you know where the lines are. You know where all the lines are, and like, so that's more of my thought process on it. Like, he has his avenues, he has that. Could he make more deals? Sure. you can be vague with the side you're against, but I feel like he was also being vague with his allies, which I feel like is self-defeating.
Yeah.
Which we also blamed Christian for, so I'm going to hold that standard.
And again, I mean, Christian had no one, so like I fault Christian more because I'm like, this is your opportunity. You're also at the final 15 to build some inroads with people. At least Bar kind of thinks at this point, and I think it's a fair, valid reason. Like, at what point does this actually gain me anything? Like, we're at a point now where people have their targets, and there's very little that can sway people off of it. And I mean, I genuinely agree. Like, if he was super forthcoming with Megan, I don't think that's going to change Megan's perception of where she stands with Jabbar. Same thing with Michael. Like, there's just not much utility to gain from it. Obviously, like, there's still some utility, but it's just not as much. So it's just like, I can't, like, I'm not angry with it, but it definitely didn't help that he is being so cryptic with people. But
yeah, and I mean, the thing is while, I mean, he didn't handle some things correctly, but you also can't say that, like, he's going around over promising, because
I'll give him that.
He's been saying, like, I am not going to tell people, like, I'm not going to tell you exactly where I'm leaning because I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm fucked.
And to counterpoint my own thing, I guess there is a reason to be more cryptic when a power is now in play that could potentially like have a complete upheaval over what he wants to do. So I guess in that regard also it makes a little more sense to lean into it.
So can confirm Liv did tell Jabbar about that she does have it, but did not go into any other details as of right now. So that is your live correspondence T right there. But yeah, I mean, on this call, though, we see the beginning of something we talked about earlier on T, which is him asking opinions from his top allies. And this is the beginning of everyone in Phoenix basically saying Sarah and Liv. And Lamont, I think, and again, it depends what Jabbar ultimately wants here, and we'll get to kind of Jabbar's options. Lamont's preference is for Bermuda Triangle / Phoenix to win as many challenges as they can. They feel like without winning, they're just going to go out one after the other after the other. It's not late enough in the game where people can win vetoes, take people off the block, and then the HOH has to nominate one of their allies. There's enough people on the other side. There's enough people playing that if the HOH is on the other side, one of them's going home. And Lamont's preference is to get rid of the comp threats, which in his opinion are Sarah and Liv. I think those are two of them. I think Megs is the other one, but obviously Lamont wants to work with Megs, so she's obviously not on the table for selfish reasons. So he very much is suggesting Sarah and Liv, which I think is a great read. I don't hate it, as Sarah and Liv can win competitions, so get rid of one of them and give Lamont, Louise, and Nikki the highest odds of being able to win the next HOH without one of them playing. So I totally get where Lamont's coming from. So all that fun stuff. Jabbar calls Liv, and that's where Liv kind of throws Sarah under, which is music to Jabbar's ears. Clearly Sarah's the target here. Sarah has won the most comps. That obviously helps them out regardless. They also think that Sarah is kind of keeping certain people aligned on the other side, which just isn't true. But I see what they're seeing. Like, they're seeing the fact that Megs and Liv are seeing eye to eye for once, which is a change when Liv and Megs didn't want to even like look at each other, based on how the opening rounds kind of played out. So they can kind of see the fact, like, okay, Megs and Liv are on the same page for once. Who's kind of uniting them? And they think Sarah's that, because Sarah and Megs were together with Erica, and then that almost alliance that got leaked that had Liv and Sarah plus Erica and Preston. So they're thinking Sarah's kind of the fulcrum there that keeps them kind of united. So it's another reason for Sarah to go, is to maybe without Sarah there, Megs and Liv drift apart again, and they can influence that a bit. But Liv's on this call being like, Sarah's after you and your allies, so if you want to put her up, highly recommend. But Liv's doing what she can here to save herself. She's like, I'm flexible. I'm not stuck with the people, I'm not stuck against you because of the Caro vote. I'm willing to look past it. She's discussing like who her question marks are, which are just full-blown lies at that point. And basically, this is where Jabbar says, I think I can stay against you, which is always a great thing. And this is where he's trying to figure out where are you at with Michael? Because Michael is someone who doesn't talk game with Jabbar. Obviously, the BBH20 of it all. He's just trying to gauge if Michael is a nomination, where do you stand with him? Would you be willing to cut him? And Liv is like, oh, absolutely. He talks no game with me either. So, like, if need be, bye. Like, he likes me and he trusts me, but he's not an asset. And I think that, again, just furthers Jabbar's thought process as to kind of depending on how all these shake out, because he's having to think about possibly naming 4 nominees, because he, in BBH14, was influential in making Jack nominate 4 people with his extra veto. So he is fully thinking that this could be another situation where he has to name 4 nominees if both vetoes get played on the nominees. So he's definitely trying to keep his options open here, and he's just trying to gauge where people stand on people like Michael and Sarah. He then calls back with Trey. This is where he tries to cut the deal with Trey for a possible final 2, which I think is not real. And that's when he's like, Trey, you and Trey and Liv, you gotta protect me, because if I'm not putting your ass up on the block, you need to protect me moving forward. You owe me. TBD if they actually will. I don't know, because
only one of them's capable of doing it.
Yeah, Liv definitely is. It's just, again, he went around telling people he was considering Trey and Liv, and that got back to them. So I don't know how much they are willing to actually consider this deal, considering he did put out their names into the ether, true or not. That's never a comforting feeling. Like,
these people just love leaking everything and like telling everyone's secrets.
There's
like, hold on to it. Hold on to the secret. Don't tell everyone everything.
Yeah, there's very little secrets that are left in this house. Very little. I mean, one of them was the advantage, but now that she's told Jabbar, I fully imagine that will get out.
Like, hello?
Okay. So, there's no secrets in this house. There's no fucking secrets. So, we've already talked about Dancing Queens feeling very scared by Jabbar. And this is where we start to see Phoenix get formed, and their preference for Liv and Sarah being preference just on competitions, but also they have no working relationship with. Like, Louise has never had a working relationship with Sarah. Sarah basically told Lamont in kind words to go fuck on off after the train of thought of it all when they got on call, and Lamont was like, I hope you still see me as an open space to discuss our game. And Sarah's like, you can go play your game and I'll go play mine. Basically, we're not working together. Choke. In the kindest words possible. So Lamont knows that there's nothing there left. They both seemingly would like Sarah to leave for compatibility and personal preference. Nikki is kind of the same way. She just nominated Sarah. She doesn't have any more working relationship with her. So really, this is everyone in his grouping is like, hey, Sarah and Liv, Sarah and Liv, Sarah and Liv. So when they hop on call today on day 24, that is like the biggest discussion is those two. But before we get there, we do need to talk about his call with Megs. And this is, I think, one of the few slip-ups that Jabbar has really had in this HOH. He has a call with Megs where Megs is like, hey, Lamont's 5-some. I'm down with it. Like, you're involved. I'm involved. Like, let's move forward together. And this is where Jabbar blatantly lies and says he's considering Michael, Sarah, Liv, and Trey, when clearly he's considering her and Megan, but leaves those names out. And for whatever reason, Jabbar thinks that Megs knows that he's lying. Because Jabbar's lying, but he thinks Megs knows that he's lying, when in reality, Megs doesn't know he's lying and thinks that the call's actually going quite well. And I think this is where Jabbar underestimates his ability of being a smooth talker. We talked about this many eons ago during the Victoria vote, where so many people in this game are focused on how they perceive others, but forgetting the piece that it also matters how they perceive you. Because if Megs perceives you great and wants to work with you, even if you don't trust her, the fact that she trusts you is great.
Is wonderful.
So the fact that Megs left that call feeling strong, but Jabbar did not get that vibe, makes him more willing to blindside her like he did today, lying to her and then not telling her until literally the video came out that she was going up. I think
what's hard is he even knows, because Lamont even relays like, Megs really enjoyed that call. She was like saying she felt pretty safe because you won HOH.
But the issue is like, I think from Jabbar's sense of like, how do you analyze that interpretation from Lamont, who is already pitching to Jabbar that he wants this to happen? He's like, what's your agenda? Like, why are you so insistent on Megs being safe? Now she has to go up. She has to. Because then that gets Sarah out, or Megs goes, and that's fine with me. And then, it's like, the more that you keep pushing against what he wants to do, it's going to just further ingrain into him that he's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
By putting Megs up.
Yeah, I mean, let's get to this call. Phoenix hops on call, which is the foursome of Nikki plus Bruner's Triangle. And this is where they're kind of spilling all the tea that Jabbar has learned, that Louise and Nikki are pretty disliked in the house from a game sense, of course, not a personal sense, in a game sense. That Louise influenced Nikki's nominations, and they're seen as a duo, and then Jabbar and Lamont are seen as a duo, and that together they make up before. Oh my God, not my phone tracking everything I'm just saying right there. Dead. Put that away. And this is where the Sarah and Liv discussion becomes big. Louise is like, have we forgotten that Sarah and Liv were literally in a foursome chat together that got exposed? Sure, Erica and Preston are gone, but that doesn't diminish the fact that they were together. In discussion about if Liv had won the veto at Live Night, does she save Sarah? Just discussion of, are we forgetting about Liv's connection to Sarah? Because everyone's talking about Megs and Sarah, but have we forgotten about Liv and Sarah? Discussion about where Megan's really out in the game, and this is where we start to see a big support for Megs. Lamont is very much like, I don't think Megs would target you, Jabbar. She probably puts up Louise and Michael, which I don't think is true, but whatever. I think Lamont at this point is just trying to protect Megs as part of his future grouping, not protecting Megan as much, because I really think, it's hard to protect Megan when they haven't, been together the entire game, and then think Megan's profession is kind of hurting her here, because a lot of people doubt if she's being authentic with them on call, because she is a therapist. That's her job, to tell you somewhat what you want to hear and sometimes give you what's harsh and what you need to hear. So they're like, is Megan being honest with us? Who knows? But the conversation is about, we need to get out the comp threats, and additionally, we need to flush the advantage, which they think Sarah or Liv has it, because halfway through the advantage, there's an option to sabotage somebody by delaying their progress by 4 hours. Liv is the only person so far. Well, Lamont also took this option, but he used it on someone who was already done, so it didn't matter. But Liv utilized this option, and there was a 30% chance it gets revealed that it was her. It did get chosen that it would be revealed. So Lamont knows that Liv sabotaged him, which indicates to him, oh, so you made it decently far into the hunt, because he's at the last step. So he knows how far Liv at least got. So he's pretty confident Liv has it. He obviously can't disclose all these details, but he's like, I think Liv has the power. She's also great at challenges, but if Liv doesn't have it, I wouldn't be shocked if Sarah does. So the whole conversation has really been turned into, those two got to go up. We got to flush this and at least take out a comp threat, which I totally get. I totally get it. But Jabbar has a lot of concerns because of the advantage. What is it? Additionally, they don't know that he's cut a deal with Liv and Trey. So all of these things are coming, into play here. But Nikki is very much defending Megs. And for whatever reason, Lamont and Jabbar are DMing during this call, being like, not Nikki protecting Megs on this call. Like, she clearly has other intentions here. And I'm like, babes, Lamont, babes, you're doing the exact same thing. Like, let's not frame Nikki here. Like, babes, you both don't want Megs on the block. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Yeah, literally.
But
compare the writings on both y'all's walls. It says the same thing in the same script.
the thing,
like, look in the mirror because it's staring right back at you.
Yeah, literally.
The thing Jabbar needs to be careful of, though, he said something that stuck with me. He said, we need to keep Liv and Trey as a power structure that other people will attack. That reads to me, you struck a deal with Liv and Trey. And I obviously I know that. And so it's easier for me to kind of pick up on that and sniff that when he's saying that. But you're a jury, you're at Final 10. If there is another power structure and you're cognizant of it, not only that, but you and Lamont like had a falling out with Trey and Liv. Like you blindsided them. So I would, given the events that led to Caro being evicted, I mean, I would at least expect a discussion around the possibility of nominating Liv and or Trey, regardless of like, oh, but we want to smooth things over with Liv. Like you willingly blindsided them. And so the fact that you're just like, well, I just want to keep the other power structure here, it should signal something to people.
Yeah. Well, my question for the two people on Prod from your perspectives, is there a potential there that from everyone else's standpoint that are pitching for Liv to go up and Megs to be safe, is there a potential blindness in terms of the debate of it all? Like you're not truly listening to the bullet points of Jabbar because you're already thinking of what your point is to counteract whatever he's saying. So it's like it goes in one ear and partially goes out the other. So you, like it may be something that they retain in a day, be like, huh. Now that I think about it, now that it's marinated, but in real time, you're like, I'm not focused on that. I'm focused on getting what I want.
Yeah, they're all biased as fuck. Like, Louise has no relationship with Sarah, and she just burned Liv super hard in the Caro vote, and Louise knows they have no working relationship. Lamont knows that Liv just sabotaged her, and Lamont's over Sarah because of the conversation that they've had. Nikki was just nominated Sarah and was willing to nominate Liv, not to mention Liv nominated Nikki in week 3. Like, they all have the preference to get rid of both of them, and obviously, like, they don't. I don't think... That's the thing. They all came in pretty biased in what they're wanting. There's also good reasons for wanting it, but yeah, I think, I think they see it, but they also aren't. Yeah, they're not really active listening. They're really just like they have the next bullet point they want to bring up in their head. So once Jabbar's done talking, all right, here's this other bullet point I've got as to why they should go up. So I think that's part of it. But ultimately, I mean, on the call, they're both like. Or all three of them are like, do whoever's best for you, Jabbar. As long as it's two of them, we don't care. We'll support you. We trust that you'll make a decision that's good for you, but also good for us. So, like, and that's a good ally. Like, hey, it's not me. I trust you to make a decision that's the best for us, but also recognize that, like, you're playing your own game. You got to do something that's good for you. They even bring up the idea that, like, if you cut a deal with Liv and Trey, that's totally fine. We don't care. Like, just... Ultimately, they all agree that Sarah needs to go this round. Basically, they're all aligned on Sarah. They don't really care who goes up next to Sarah as long as they can get rid of Sarah. Which, I mean...
The thing that I've noticed, though, and this is not necessarily Jabbar being a bad ally, this is, I think, what's going to be Jabbar's undoing, is he clearly has a blind spot for Trey. And it doesn't really matter what bad Trey does to Jabbar. Jabbar is going to find a reason to forgive him because he wants them to have, like, I think he's come in with friends in this game, but he has like an emotional friendly attachment to Trey that I think it's really hard for him to cut, like, and separate that difference. And like they had this really bad difference of opinion with the Caro thing, leaving him out of it, and then they come back together and they just start spilling their games to each other as if nothing happened. And I think I worry for Jabbar that I think the determination Trey is coming in with this season is Jabbar would have a really hard time cutting Trey, in my opinion. Trey will not think twice about cutting Jabbar.
I think Trey will like feel, but he'll feel it as he's like, he's still going to stab you. He's still going to stab you. It's still going to be slow. It's still going to be painful, but it's like, he's like, but I love you as he does.
He's going to send him the same message he sent Lamont. Like, I wish you the best in life.
I wish you the best in life.
Trey is going to do what Trey wants to do. Trey came into this season as third boot, right? Of 19. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Understanding that, like, Trey was not going to be Trey was not going to allow people to walk all over Trey, especially Lamont and Jabbar, who I know that Trey knows them outside of this game. So it's like Trey's going to do what Trey's going to do, but I also feel like Trey understands the dynamic and knows that that's why he is getting a duo with Liv. Like, Liv is his shield. Liv is someone who is always going to be the person that is going to be targeted way before Trey. So it's like, I just want a moment where Trey love Liv. But I'm like, I want the Trey moment where Trey blindsides Jabbar and then blindsides Liv and then takes home the win.
It's like
that would require Trey to win comp.
Trey has he has such a story of like that you could actively pitch in a non-negative way of being like a parasite, and I mean that in a good way of like he finds the right people at the right time that are in these pivotal positions of whether they're socially powerful or comp powerful, and is able to be seen as like, oh, if I get good with you, I'll get good with the power. And then he'll still get in some trouble like with Lamont and stuff like that, but it's like he has his hands mainly clean while still being able to have ownership over moves that happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's so hard when you have personal connections that come into a game because you just don't know how that's going to take effect. Like how, like, will they recognize it and will they be willing to do it? I mean, we've seen instances of it happening in both directions in this game
for sure.
Where, like, Jabbar could have evicted Lamont here and been maybe in a slightly better position, not be, enemy number one. Who knows what the game looks like if they save Caro and evict Lamont there. But Jabbar clearly had, a personal connection to Lamont and saw an opportunity to save him and get rid of someone who he saw as a threat, which I think is partially influenced by the fact he knows Lamont and can trust Lamont way more than he can trust Caro. But like we've seen it before, like Preston, had some friendships coming in and wanted to utilize them, which then were not reciprocated back by people like Megan. So you just never know when shit like that comes into the game, like if they're going to play the game in front of them or if they're going to have that kind of past connection influence it. And I'm very intrigued to see how Jabbar handles that moving forward, as well as Trey. I mean, I again, like, Trey evicts Lamont there, sure, but like I don't think Trey would have evicted Lamont against a few people in the house. Obviously, it was up against Caro, his number one, so that wasn't really a decision he had to really contemplate very long. But like in a different situation, I don't know where he actually lands on that. So, a super fun dynamic that makes returnee games so interesting that I love. The final two calls we got to get through for Jabbar is his call with Michael, which was a very strange call where he told Michael he was considering nominating him, which we knew from Jabbar's inner thoughts that he was not going to be an initial nom. He might have been a renom in a situation where the powers come out, but he tells Michael that he's considering nominating him and basically wants to get confirmation that Michael won't hold it against him, which is like, babes, what? Like,
go final time.
You don't get to ask for both.
But
Michael will give it to you.
In classic Michael fashion, he's willing to forgive.
Michael be like, yes, put me up.
Yeah, like, it's okay. I get it. It's all good. We'll talk more strategy. I'm like,
I want to see what happens in a world where Michael will have said, no, we have fucking problems. We have fucking problems if you put me up right now, Jabbar.
I don't know. It was just a weird call to basically tell Michael that he's in consideration when he wasn't. I don't know. It just was an odd choice.
It's almost like he was just trying to scare him into giving him something.
I don't know what.
But I can't figure out what he wanted.
Because obviously I guess he was hoping to get strategy talk from him because that's his main thing, and maybe he thought, well, I tried being like the buddy and that didn't work, so what if I put the fear into him? Does he start giving me something? When that's just not Michael. You have known this man now for almost 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't changing.
Yeah, I don't know what the intentionality there is. I don't think he got what he was looking for, though. But I just thought that was a very strange call. He then gets on a call with Sarah, and Sarah pitches for her life, being like, I've never been dishonest once to you in this game. You would not be a nom or a renom for me unless you're nominating me here. Then you absolutely will be going up in the future. But like, when all these other people are promising you safety, again, this is the same approach Christian took. People can offer you safety all they want, but if they don't win anything, then what does that mean to you? It means nothing. I actually have won a lot of things and can actually promise you things. I can actually promise you safety and do things that will help you. I think the misstep she has is where he asks, are there people you'd like to protect this round? And Sarah's like, well, absolutely. And he's like, would you use a veto? And while she doesn't say yes, the awkward pause and how it is alluded to, she basically alludes to the fact that she would use the veto on people she wants to protect. And given how she's won 4 vetoes already, I do not think that's something Jabbar wanted to hear. Like, oh, you would fuck up my nominations if I left you off the block, which I think is not great to hear. So, I mean, Jabbar gets back on call with Phoenix. Phoenix was just on call for like 5 hours straight, and they were just kind of hopping in back and forth, just kind of hashing out every call that they were on. And Jabbar was like, she had a great pitch. I am considering what she's saying, but like she said she'd use the veto basically. And I've told almost everyone, like that was the one consistency he had, is he basically told everyone he was on call with that Sarah was likely going up, and definitely tried to gauge would they evict her. And at this point, we love to say the toothpaste is out of the tube. We love that analogy here, but yeah, you've kind of told the whole house you're going to do it. At that point, you kind of
have to do it.
And even if like, that's the thing, if Sarah is going to hear about this, Sarah told you, I won't nominate you if you don't nominate me. But like, if she hears that, oh yeah, he told me he'd nominate you, and she hears it from literally everyone in the cast, I don't know how much she's going to want to honor that deal. Like, again, actions speak louder than words, but like, you did say it. So
I sort of wish that Sarah, when he asked her like if he would, or if she would use the veto if she wins, if she wasn't on the block, I wish she was it. Well, if you put Nikki up, I won't use it. I've shown I wouldn't use it twice.
Yeah.
And then just have Nikki go up.
Which,
get what you want.
Yeah, he won't do that, even though Nikki is treading water for whatever reason, because they're having distrust in Nikki now because she tried to support Megs on that call when Lamont did the exact same thing. But now they're thinking that Nikki, again, this whole narrative that Nikki is opportunistic. So if Nikki sees a new opportunity to switch sides, she'll do it. So that's Jabbar and Lamont's worry right now, is that Megs is a person that Nikki would flip to the other side for. So I think that might have even influenced Jabbar even more to putting her up to kind of do that. But they want Sarah to leave. I mean, they kind of discussed nomination options next to Sarah to ensure that Sarah leaves. They obviously don't know that Dancing Queens will likely stay together and evict her no matter what. And that's going to be 4 votes right there. And it doesn't matter anymore because there's only 7 voters. So if it's Sarah versus a member of Dancing Queens, it's very likely that the other 4 members will just evict Sarah. But again, there has been discussions about how crucial this next HOH is. We need to win. So if she's up against someone like Megan, who doesn't win anything, is there a conversation that takes place of, we cut Megan, we bring in Sarah, Sarah has won 5 comps, Megan's won nothing. Is Sarah a better asset moving forward than Megan? Or if she's up against someone like Trey, or if she's up against someone like Michael, is there a conversation to be had? I don't know. Against Megs or Liv, the conversation's kind of mute. It's kind of moot because Liv's won 3 and Megs has won 2. So it's kind of like cutting Sarah, you still have a comp. You still have a comp piece. It's not like cutting Megs or Liv. You're getting that much of an extra asset with Sarah. So I still think there's a chance for Sarah if she's still up on the block, if she finds herself up next to Trey or Megan or Michael. I think it's unlikely against Trey. I think it's way more likely against Michael or Megan, but I think there's still an opportunity there. So I don't think it's a do or die scenario, but we do end up with Megs and Sarah nominations. He lets them both know with like Sarah like minutes before the video goes live, Megs with like seconds, which is, again, I think another misstep. Jabbar told Lamont, yeah, I'm going to do Megs. And Lamont tells Megs with like 45 minutes before the video goes live, like tells Megs it's going to be you, which Megs is taken a bit back for multiple reasons. Obviously, she wasn't told she was in any danger. She was told 4 different names. She wasn't any of them, and she's going up. It also doesn't help that Michael has gone around because of the call saying like, it's going to be me, it's going to be me, it's going to be me. So when Michael's not nominated, she's also a little confused because she's like, Michael fully is under the impression it's going to be him after the call that they had. So all of those things kind of like come together where Meg's a little off put by how Jabbar handled it. I mean, Meg straight up confronted Jabbar being like, being told by our mutual bestie that you're putting me up. So what's going on? And then they kind of like talk it off, and then the video comes out. So just a weird way to handle Megs. Well, and Sarah. I mean, he didn't call either of them. He just texted both of them.
And the way Jabbar reacts, he's like, what? That's wild.
What? No. Huh? Who's our bestie? What? It was just a weird way to handle it. But ultimately, let's talk about his logics. He's got a few options here. Like, does he go for the comp threats? Does he try and take out Meg, Sarah, Liv, people who can win challenges to try and help Lamont, Nikki, and Louise win the next one? Or does he prioritize himself? Does he say, you know what? I'm on this island with the other 3, but there are potentials with Megs, Liv, and Megan and Trey with options to move forward with them. Do I leave them all off the block in hopes that maybe, just maybe, they'll work with me moving forward and they'll at least prioritize me over Louise and Nikki and Lamont? Because ultimately he sees no working relationship with Sarah. That's been very evident. And then Michael's straight up telling you, I don't hold it against you. So like, does he take that opportunity? I think both options are strong. I really don't know if I have a preference. I'm not sure if y'all think that he should have done Sarah Michael to prioritize maybe an opportunity with Megs, an opportunity with Liv, an opportunity with Megan. Because Michael seems off the table at this point. It seems like it will be Megan, Liv, or Trey going up and not Michael at this point, based off of the conversations that have transpired, unless, the advantage comes out of it all. But
which Michael fans hate me all you want. That's the wrong move. for specifically for what Jabbar is looking for, like that, because part of his options are also like he's made it clear with what he says with Liv is, I think I can survive the block against you. Mm-hmm. Jabbar, you ain't surviving against the Grim Reaper, buddy. like if there's already talking town of that, and there's already you already have these concerns of, well, Michael isn't prioritizing me in a game sense, but he was protecting Louis, like he's protecting other people. You put Michael up, even if it's up against Sarah or Megs. Like if it's up against Sarah, Sarah still goes. If he's up against Megs, it'll be close. Like I could legitimately see a 4-3 vote there. But if you remove Michael, you remove that fear. It's that thing of like, well, if you want to be around and good with the big dogs, get rid of the small dog that everyone will keep over you. So then you make the decision even harder when you are eventually on the block. Because if you're up against Megs, if you're up against Louise, like you now have more avenues where you could potentially save yourself because other people have done each other wrong. Whereas Michael is Michael. Yeah.
Also, it's like, do these people forget that it's All Stars? Like,
well,
it's giving. Well, yeah. This is how I'm viewing it. But like, it's not like it's that was funny. But it's interesting because Michael is going to be used as like the pawn star. Mm-hmm. Like, love Michael and Michael stands, I rise with you. But like, Michael is giving me Victoria Raffaelli for Big Brother 16. Like someone who, I mean, Victoria only won 1 comp and Michael will probably win more comps, but it's like someone who at the end of the day, in a ranking of people who have a good shot at winning and like win equity, I think Michael is towards the middle tier of like,
he's well liked. Yeah.
He's well liked. Yeah. But like everyone, like being well liked only gets you so far. Like so I think if Michael's at the end with like a Liv or a Megs or even a Sarah or even like Lamont, Nikki, or like I'm looking at it as a final two scenario where I'm like, who is Michael going to be? Who can Michael beat in this game? And at this current moment, I don't believe there is anyone that Michael can beat. Unless it's a bitter.
Well, that's the thing. It depends what these people value. I mean, clearly people are pretty pressed about Nikki and Louise, but at least Nikki and Louise can point to game moves that they've done that's progressed their game. Michael doesn't necessarily have that. And does the jury value that, or do they value the fact that they love Michael? I don't know. It depends what they value. If they're voting based on
as little as if they're based off game, no, but like we've seen it before. A jury doesn't always vote based off game. They may. Has Michael done you wrong? And a lot of people, the answer is going to be no, because he had no chance to even do anything right for them either.
I think like, the thing is, too, it's like the way they've had some of their relationships with him, like you can't help but root for him if you've had some of these relationships that they've had. And I think, Alex, what you just said is so right in terms of this group. We called it, the jury management was going to be bad, and it's already been bad. And you know who Erica is not feeling burned by? The person who was her block buddy, because he couldn't have wronged her.
Which is why
she's going to have a lot of these questions about who voted me out and who was a part of this. And the one person who has their hands wiped clean of it is Michael. You know who the pre-jury is rooting for? Michael. Like they are rooting for him. Now, they are all cognizant of the fact that like when he gets there, he has to be able to tell his story like anyone else. I don't know how he tells his story, but he he's gonna come off and do this all showboaty thing. But I don't think that he's out of it by any means if he gets there.
It just again it boils down to what does this jury value? Because we've talked about it on all these seasons. Like 17 did not value the gameplay Steph did. She was very stagnant in who she wanted. She was honest. She worked with the people that she wanted to work with, and she was very honest about that. And the jury was like, we would rather value dynamic players who reconsidered their positions and work with new people, and we're willing to do that constantly versus Steph. They didn't value it, but a different jury might have. So same thing with Elise and Liv. That jury valued the social gameplay that Elise had, and Liv very much suffered and did not get to know people as well as Elise did. And people looked at that as a huge voting point for them. So I don't know what this jury will value. We only got
honestly, Steph's gameplay would win her the game in this season if she got to the end.
Yeah,
because she's the only one who could be able to say that I was straight up and I was honest and you always knew where I stood, and everyone would be like, you know what? And you are right.
Yeah, Steph would she'd sweep this jury because they love honesty.
The thing you all don't get to see.
Well, they love honesty, but they don't like giving it.
Yeah, they love honesty given, but they don't love to give it.
Well,
they love it received, but not given.
Yeah. And they, I mean, you all don't see the goodbye messages going out, but like these goodbye messages are cringe.
They're giving Paul from 19 very much like, here's all the things that we're working in the background. It doesn't make you feel good.
It doesn't make you feel good. And half the people are not owning up to their shit in their goodbye messages. Like that is the one place to send here's exactly how I did you the fuck dirty. So because especially with someone like Erica, she is out now and she has nearly 2 weeks to stew on everything. Go ahead and shock her or tell her and own up to what you've done wrong, and she has 2 weeks to get over it. But now you have people like Jabbar and some others who are sending goodbye messages that are not self-aware. They are not owning up to the moves. They're like, oh, if you're like, I don't know how this happened. You know how this happened, Jabbar.
Because you did it.
Yeah, like very much like, here's my grouping. I just didn't see that we were working together any further. But like this vote was crazy. Like, no, babes, you love that vote.
And I even am critical of like Megan and Megs sending goodbye messages. And I love and I understand the move that they made. But like maybe the thing that Megs shouldn't say to Erica is like, I'm doing this for us. Like what you should have done for us is
it saved me.
Erica.
It saved me.
And the fact that you just needed one vote to make that happen.
Yeah. It doesn't.
I think for her that like semantics wise is more forgivable than the people that have been gaslighting Erica for weeks now and then take her out the first chance that they get. And yeah, I will say goodbye messages do mean something. Like, as someone who's been on a jury in BBH, I have been given 2 good videos and 1 very bad video. And the good videos were the 2 people who got to the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really like it's what's gonna determine everything is how you make them feel. And you know, Michael doesn't really send goodbye messages, which is fine, but also like he doesn't really need to explain anything. But you know, like Liv, she sends great goodbye messages. Trey sends awesome goodbye messages, and he explains like this is exactly what happened, blah blah blah. Period. And those are the kinds of people. It's like Trey has been smarmy, I will admit, but like he owns his shit and his goodbyes and what he's doing, and I respect that.
It's a game he has to play. He has
it is a game he has to play. Yes, I think that he is. We've talked about this a little bit. I think he's trying. He's a bit more villainous, but I think that he is trying to play something similar to kind of like how Elise played or how Crystal played. It's in that, you know, he really wants to navigate a little bit of the middle. And sometimes you can't always be open and forthcoming about your game while the other person is still in the game, but you can at least own the moves that you're making. And Erica's goodbye, like Erica's send off and what she said in the end, this group, I was really hoping they would hear it, because everything she was saying was very right in terms of y'all need to think about how you treat each other as you send each other out. Like, we are supposed to also be like friends, and this feels bad. And I don't think it's going to get better.
Yeah, I mean, it's something to watch. I mean, it's how you send people out. It's how you nominate people. It's how you send goodbye messages. I mean, Erica got 2 of them today, and Erica was like, "Now, what the fuck were these? What the fuck? Like, no, these were like she did not value either of them." And like and Trey, like, sure, she said, "Well, fuck the alliance that Trey's in, fuck that group," but like Trey's a cool guy, or Trey's person. I mean, she did say Trey's a cool guy, but Trey's a cool person. And again, like that could be enough at the end of the day here. Yeah. Like you could have a Josh versus Paul situation where the whole jury's like, you know what? I don't really like either of you, but at least Josh made me feel slightly better than you did. And some people.
Okay, so who is Josh and who is Paul?
I mean, Jabbar is Paul right now. Or
I think Louise is Josh.
Yeah.
No, Louise is
going around banging pots and pans and crying all the time. Like, that is Josh.
I mean, that's valid. I mean, at least
don't do Elise like that, or not.
No,
Louise like
I only mean what her outcome is going to be in terms of placement in that scenario.
No, I mean it's valid. I mean, Louise, everyone knows where Louise is at in the sense of she's lying 24/7. It's like no one is going to be like, no one at this point feels hurt by Louise anymore. Everyone's like, she's just lying left and right. So you know what? Like I can't expect anything from Louise, which again, people are desensitized at this point. But people like Jabbar, when they figure out all that Jabbar has done behind the scenes, it could come off one of 2 ways. Either they really highly fucking respect the hell out of it, or that kind of hurt
Game
me.
over.
And I personally don't see a majority of this jury or this like jury phase group respecting it. I could see 1 or 2 people potentially, if given the time, could look past it and be like, okay, pure gameplay, where whoever's sitting next to you, fine, I will begrudgingly give you my vote, but we will be having words like after all this is said and done.
Well, we will have to see, because a lot of precedent has been established, like Jabbar telling his noms with seconds left, Nikki not telling her noms at all, Erica. I mean, the whole house thinking it was going to be 7-1, and then it's 5-3. And Erica, the people she kind of expected to get votes from, she didn't. She got Sarah's vote, but she kind of expected Megan and Megs to also save her there, and she didn't get either of them. So, like, a lot of blindsiding left and right. We saw a lot in the pre-jury, so I'm intrigued to see how all of that plays out and factors in. But for this round, I don't want to say it's a do or die for Sarah in the veto, but it feels that way.
I think it is.
It feels do or die, but again, it might not
People's
be
minds can change.
like she's won 5 comps, and if people see value in keeping her to like if people are more motivated by seeing Jabbar, Lamont, Louise, and Nikki leave, there's a benefit in having Sarah here who has won 5 comps.
I think my concern is Sarah is not really winning the HOHs.
No, no.
And so now my fear looking at Sarah is if I'm next to her and Sarah's the target, she wins veto and now I'm the target.
Yeah.
That is a bigger fear I have personally in keeping Sarah, because I think that's what you're going to see happen here is that, you know, right now Megs is not the target, but if Sarah wins the veto, a bad renom for Megs could be doom.
Especially if you put up someone who's not winning, because you could just highlight the fact of like, I've done Megs sort of dirty here, but Megs has shown that she can win HOHs.
Yeah.
Then it's not that have fun kikiing with Erica in jury.
Yeah. So super intrigued to see what this cast values in terms of how they want to tackle Phoenix. Are they going to keep people who can win challenges? Are they going to prioritize the people that are currently in Dancing Queens? I don't know. It kind of depends on the veto winner and all that. The veto draw is not really great for Sarah. It's slightly better for Megs. She gets Louise, Nikki, and Megan. Megan definitely would use the veto to save Megs here, but Nikki and Louise, I would imagine, just don't touch it. Especially knowing that Sarah likely goes out, which is what they want.
Well, we know Nikki's not going to use it on Sarah. So.
But could we potentially see Nikki, though, being the opportunistic person that she is? She was very adamant of it's not a smart move to have Megs up there, and I think Nikki herself wants to still see Megs. I can see a flip a coin thing with Nikki.
It's like possible
50-50.
Yeah, these players have been so unpredictable in terms of when they choose to not step on their allies' toes, and then when they want to, and like when they want to lie and when they don't want to lie. Like they've been so unpredictable in that matter.
Well,
so, who knows?
You know what I think Nikki would try to do, especially now that Jabbar knows that Liv has the advantage. You backdoor the girl who can no longer use her advantage.
Yeah, I mean. Sad. I mean, you got to put her up next to someone who you can send Liv home against. Obviously, I don't think they realize that Sarah, because the thing is that Phoenix, there's only 7 voters and there are 3 of them. They only need 1 extra voter, and they might think that they can easily get an extra voter against someone like Sarah, but I don't think they just don't know the dynamics of the other house. They don't see how close everyone is without Sarah. They don't.
If Sarah wins the veto and comes off the block.
Yeah.
If I'm Liv, I veto Megs.
You use the power. You have to.
Yeah, I use the power on Megs just to ensure that I can't be backdoored. Yeah. Because I think Liv against Megs, Liv leaves. Especially with the knowledge now that Liv holds that power.
Yeah, which we haven't heard from Jabbar in terms of where he's at with that, because obviously Jabbar is trying to forge a relationship with Liv. And if Liv made some type of, promise that she won't use it against him, we don't really know how much of that is resonating right now. So a lot of open questions.
I just wouldn't chance it though. Like if Sarah wins the veto.
If Sarah wins it, you need to survive this round, and then what? Megan and Michael go up,
probably. Or Trey.
Megan and Trey.
I mean, I feel like if Liv uses it and Jabbar feels some type of way, Trey's going out.
He throws up Trey. Yeah, it just depends. I don't know. But
bench turns for Trey.
Do you think that Liv should have hijacked the HOH?
No, I don't.
She had no incentive to.
I personally would never choose the co-HOH hijacking. I'd always choose the veto because both guarantee you another round.
Well, you say that. I think I would have, like, if Jabbar comes to her and says, "Hey, I'm going to nominate you," and knowing that your side has the numbers, like you're guaranteed your side not to lose a number if you hijack the HOH.
Sure, but then you can't.
That's real. You can't. Yeah.
Which you are one of the bigger comp. Ability people on your side, so you're putting all your faith in Megs and Sarah to come through to beat out Louise or Lamont or Jabbar, or well, I guess Jabbar can't play, so whichever two remain of Nikki, Louise, Lamont, you're putting all your faith in your group to do that.
And you're left powerless. Yeah, I know. It's hard. I think she made the right choice.
Yeah.
But I'm very interested because I could see Jabbar double crossing her.
It's possible. Oh, it absolutely is.
And with very little time to do anything about it.
But the thing also is she also has the ability to steal a vote. So if she is up on the block against Sarah or Meg, she also still has an ability to steal someone's vote and at least guarantee she's got a vote. I think she's got Trey's vote for sure.
Oh, I am stealing Louise's.
I think you have Michael's vote for sure. You just need one more.
Yeah.
You steal Louise's vote.
So I think it's
instantly.
I really think her holding it was the right move. I just don't think hijacking this one is that important. I think you were going to lose someone here, but you're still up in numbers 5-4 next round anyway. I think holding.
So if Jabbar tells you you're going up, do you think you still hold on to it and just wait and see what happens with the veto?
I'm going up against Sarah. Yeah, I'm holding.
But if you're going up against Megs, no.
Then I'd use it.
If I was a worse competitor heading into this point, I use it.
Yeah.
Liv being someone who's always gonna do well in these type of comps, or at least showing that they are. It's sort of like, I think you're willing to take that gamble.
Give yourself.
So wait, if Liv, let's say next round Liv wins HOH just over Max, like, can she be a co-HOH the next round?
Yes.
I don't remember. I think we agreed yes.
The wording only says that you are considered outgoing HOH the round after you use that power.
Gotcha.
So the understanding is, and kind of the reason for us putting this in, is that we didn't want to further limit the number of rounds you could use your advantage, but you would still have to have that cooldown on being HOH after you use it.
Gotcha.
She's got options. I mean, it just depends what she ultimately wants to do. But I think with how Jabbar's playing around the advantage. He's trying to. I mean, the advantages obviously depend on the windows. He knows this. He's had a secret advantage himself, so he's definitely playing around the window. So tomorrow will be a very interesting dynamic to see how Liv plays around her paranoia, and depending on who wins the veto, a lot for her to consider, as she'll have just a brief period of time to decide if she wants to use anything between veto results and veto ceremony. So
she should not have told him. I worry.
I don't know why she told him.
I really worry because I feel like at this point, like if the veto gets into the wrong hands, once the veto window is closed and you have not used it,
I think it's this,
whatever he wants.
I think it's a hard thing of like with BBH historically of recent memory, leaky. It's like as much as you want to trust Trey, Trey's relationship with Jabbar. It's like, do you do the off chance of Jabbar finding out from not you that you have the power? Because at least by you admitting it and revealing it, but being the first to reveal it to him, is there any type of way where he respects that? And like Lee, I get your point completely. I'm just trying. I understand Liv's perspective as someone who also will think through like 1 million different scenarios of like, if I do this, what happens?
Yeah, I'm struggling because I know that Trey was not going to leak it. Like he told us, like I am keeping that to myself
to the grade.
But I think the other thing, like to your credit, like Lamont definitely knew Liv probably had something, or at least had good reason to think so.
Right.
And so at that point, if you're Liv and you're like, I know Lamont probably is suspicious of me at least,
I might as well get in front of it.
Yeah, I think when you have an advantage though, and you know that other people know you have your advantage, and especially not someone that's like, she doesn't trust Jabbar. So, like, I know that this was more out of feeling like a need to tell. Like, you're just going to play more paranoid now. And I don't think that this is what she needs. No. I would almost argue that she should just play it this round and just get rid of it so that people don't feel like they have to play around whatever she has or come at her from behind. Like, and that's where I'm worried for her, because people just play a little more paranoid when they have things like this.
I just think it all is going to be determined by what this veto outcome is. I think if Sarah doesn't win that veto, or it's a scenario where veto isn't going to be used, you hold on to it. You can use it next round, burn it next round, whatever you need to do depending on the result. But I think this is a ability that is extremely results oriented.
Yeah. My fantasy still is that Liv holds on to it to the last round. She wins HOH anyway, and then she just donates to all the charities. That's my fantasy.
We'll have to see. Got a lot of interesting dynamics here. I mean, obviously it depends on the veto winner, but we have a lot of different scenarios depending on who wins the veto. Now that Jabbar knows about who has the advantage, obviously doesn't know what it does or any of the intricacies around it, but initially Nikki and Louise winning it was just initially they're not going to use it, they're going to boot Sarah. But now that Jabbar has this information, does he encourage Nikki or Louise to do something fancy with it and then play around Liv's advantage? So now this becomes an extra level of complexity to this.
And these are people that have wanted Liv to go up from the jump.
So shall be interesting, and it's a quick day tomorrow. So results are going to be around 6. And then veto ceremony is around 8, and then eviction is around 10:30. So it is like quick. People got to be on their toes, ready to go. So super excited to see what all plays out tomorrow. So stick with us. I will not be back tomorrow morning because I have nothing to talk about, but I'll be back at some point later this week to discuss all of this fallout and whatever happens with the veto win and the eviction and all that fun stuff. But any last words before I hit end stream?
Winner picks.
Sure, let's do winner picks. We haven't, because we didn't do one post.
This is technically a new round.
Yeah, did we do one after winner? I don't know if we did. Who fucking knows?
I don't think so.
Last
time we did winner picks, someone picked Erica. So,
it was heading into live night.
Heading into live night. Someone said.
I will say who my winner pick is, and I want to just preface this by saying, this person is winning the game no matter what. Like literally, like I see them winning.
Is it Carol?
Lee.
Lee.
Let me say it. It is Caro. Because Caro's coming back. Caro is winning the battle back. I just know it. She's holding onto the wall for 5 hours right now. I can reveal it. I guess I can reveal it. Yes, there's a battle back, and Caro is holding onto the wall. And I just know it. Okay, I wanted my moment, but now someone do their winner pick, and I will do my winner pick later.
It's hard because I've been changing so much. Like it's hard because there's not a lot of compies this season. Like it's hard. It's hard for me not to pick someone who's winning challenges. Like I feel like it's really hard in my heart to see someone like Trey winning if he can't win something. It's hard for me to pick someone like Megan when she hasn't won anything. So I'm gonna go Liv. I think tomorrow is huge for her if she's able to walk away with that. I mean, with the advantage still intact, like my God. But even if she uses it, I still think she's in a great spot too. She's got allies who are supporting her right now, and if she can get a couple rounds further and ensure she plays in every challenge, she's dangerous. So I'm gonna go Liv right now, but I could also see Megs, depending, as long as she gets through tomorrow. As long as Sarah does not win that veto, I think Megs makes it through the round and she's fine. Megs can make a deep run. So I'm between those two right now. I'm going to stick with Liv, but these comp wins depend everything. Jabbar could still win this season if their side continues to be in power. That side's not going to turn on each other. So I'm going to stick with Liv, though, for right now.
Okay. I was in between Liv and Megs for a while, but like the more that I've been sitting on it. I'm going to go left field. Lamont is winning. Lamont does have the ability to win competitions. It hasn't struck out so far. But because what you said is totally valid. Like I do believe it's so hard to realistically pick someone that you can't have confidence in that they can ensure that they get themselves there. But I just think I respect his passion for this so much. I think if he can find that way, and I think he's starting to find a path that could potentially work. It's a very tight rope. But if he can get to that point, I do believe he's someone who can outtalk a good portion of these people. Not all of them, but a good portion.
His pathing is absolutely there. It's just, that's my one concern is
it has to be perfect.
When you win a comp. But no, I see it.
I'm going to make a contingency pick.
Okay.
You're going to pick Rizzo.
I would. No, depending upon what happens tomorrow.
Of course.
I think Sarah has big win equity if she makes it out of tomorrow.
She can get out of it.
Because if she wins tomorrow, it means that Dancing Queen's lost someone.
She fills that spot.
They don't come for her again. Nope. And she is the person who tells every last person in this game how it is. She's not going to put noms up without telling them. Right. She is going to tell people, this is what you did wrong, and how dare you do this wrong to me, and you're getting your comeuppance, and they're going to be like, yes, I understand. Thank you. If she makes it out, like that, I'm not saying like I will bet my house that she's the winner, but if she comes out of tomorrow safe, I think she can win the whole thing.
Yeah. She needs a veto win, which I mean she's 1-4, so it's not out of the realm.
So why not?
It doesn't matter how much you win. It matters if you can win when it matters, and she's proving that she can win when it matters.
Yeah, because she was toast at Live Night if she didn't win.
Yes,
right.
She was toast at Live Night. She ensured during the split house that she kept the people that she wanted safe and off the block. Like she has shown that capability. And now you're going to hit a crossroads if she hits that veto tomorrow. Mm-hmm. You hit that crossroads of, well, do we just keep targeting her? Like, that's her goal. Like, that's her story now, is that she's going to have to win every single veto or she's out. Mm-hmm. Or do you suddenly get that fear of like, okay, well, let's just get her on side because I'm just too scared of being against this person right now.
Yeah. I do have to say a little double edge to my prediction, though, is in a world where Sarah is on her winter arc and she has escaped the block tomorrow, it means Liv saves Megs as well because she has to activate her power in order to not be backdoored. Uh-huh. In which case, I believe we lose Megan tomorrow.
I think we lose Trey in that world. No. I think there's enough people that would do it. I think Lamont would do it.
Yeah, but I think over like the likely noms
Sarah
would be Megan and Michael. And I think, I don't know. It's a lot of what ifs, but I think that Megan is playing such a great game. Unfortunately, this cast has really seen this round that Megan is playing such a great game. and so I'm worried that a lot has to go wrong for Megan to leave tomorrow. But as we have seen, a lot can go wrong.
I just see no bad placement twins for me after tomorrow.
I think for me, my prediction, yes, comp wins are a big part of Big Brother, but also like social equity and social capital. So I think for me, the person who I believe does have a strong chance of winning this game, and I think I'm going to say this as my winner pick, is actually two people. One does include physical comp ability, and then the other, we haven't seen them win a comp, I don't think. But the first one, I think Megs. I think if Meg survives tomorrow, and I think she will. I think she has a high chance of winning tomorrow.
I do too.
She goes very far to the end of this game because I feel like Lamont will secretly take Megs with him all the way to the end. And then the other person, for me, I believe is probably Trey. Trey is my winner pick because I think Trey will find his people. Trey will find his people, find his shields. When one shield goes, he goes to another shield. So Megs and Trey.
No, but
those are great picks.
My final two.
There's just honestly I can see almost anyone winning. Truly, I really do.
It'll be a great winner. Whoever wins will be a great winner.
Like all of them have stories. All of them have pathways. They really do. Like it just depends round by round. It's
It's funny because it's like, even, I mean, we talked about this preseason, and I've been off this wagon, but like I see a path for Michael. I see a path for several of these people that we were kind of like, I don't know what's going to happen. And now, truly anything.
Yeah, and it just really, I love when it shakes out that way. Like Michael needed to have the charisma out of 100, and he does, and other people do not have the charisma out of 100. So it's a super interesting dynamic we got. So stay tuned. The next couple of days are going to be jam-packed, and we'll be back on Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern for another live night. But we're at 10 right now. At the end of Sunday, we'll be down to our final 6. So we're booting 4 people in the next 5 days. So be there. Be there as we crown a winner in like 12 days. So the season is coming to a rapid conclusion. So you don't want to miss anything. I'll be back at some point, probably in 2 days from now, to get you back up to speed if you missed anything. But for me, for Lee, for Alex, and for Marcelo, we're peacing on out. We'll catch you in the Discord. Bye, everyone.